welcome everyone. This is great. We're happy that you're here. You found our Factor 8 sales shot and a good darn chat. So if you're just joining us, we want to make sure, please, that you put your location and your favorite tool into chat, please. All right. You are going to have a fun time with us today, I promise. We're talking about how real people are winning the sales prospecting game using AI. And if you've never joined us before, my name is Lauren Bailey. I'm the founder of Factor 8. We've been around 16 years. We train frontline sellers and sales managers who do outbound prospecting and virtual sales. But I am not the expert here. In fact, I'm a laggard. Like I am the green bubble in your text chat group. I'm the last
Amen.
Samsung user on earth. So I brought smarter people together to chat with us here today, and they're all going to introduce themselves. I say we jump right in and start now. Jax, you're first on the list. Tell
Awesome.
everybody about yourself, darling.
Well, hi, I'm Jax. I've spent the last 12 years at T-Tech leading sales enablement, training, learning strategy across BPO. So you name it, I've done it. Was working with the enterprise sales teams as direct seller. And, I'm bringing a sales enablement lens to this conversation on how to use it with your clients when you're there at the client dinners or you're playing golf or whatever it may be, how you can use, my favorite is ChatGPT, how you can use that in the real world. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me, LB.
Your perspectives. You've got some really neat things have you here. Jax is a member of our Girls Club program. And if you haven't heard of that, Girls Club is about getting more women to the top in revenue related roles, enablement, rev ops, operations, customer success, sales, business development, etc. We have cohorts every single year, and we're about to celebrate 600 promotions. So representing Jax, thank you very much. JB, you're next.
What's poppin'? What's cracking? What's up, everybody? I'm happy to be here. LB and I are great friends, and I would basically lay down in traffic for her for the asking.
Aw.
It's
But all you
it's
had to do was come to a webinar.
all I had to do was guest right here.
Right
So
here.
I host the Sell Better Daily Sales Show. It's the joy of my life to come into your cubicles, your homes, your offices every day and interview the best possible salespeople and sales leaders in the game and just talk about what's working for them and the mistakes that they've made so that people can learn from them and grow a little bit every single day. 1% better every day. That's the goal. And that's what we do at sellbetter.xyz. Check it out. Feel free. We have a ton.
It's a lot of fun.
We have a ton of great resources as well. They've just been
Yeah.
dropped in the chat for everybody, so go check those out. I am really heavy into ChatGPT right now, and prompting and iteration seems to be the skill that I've been focused on for the better part of the last 6 months. And then I would also say that I have started using Agent AI, and that's about building a specific agent to do something that buys you more time. And there's quite an in-depth conversation and maybe a quick look at that we can do later.
All right, cool. Thank you for that. James, you're always trying something new. And James is a member of our Legacy Executive Club. And in our last meeting, he was so excited. He couldn't stop the screen sharing and showing us all his new AI tools. And I just love learning from you. So if you're not going to the Sell Better Daily Show, you should. It's fast paced, it's fun, it's free. Make sure you go and check that out.
Yes.
Doug Gibbs is joining us a short time before retirement. And let me just tell you, I know you're going to introduce yourself here, friend, but Doug is with Waste Management. They're a Factor 8 client, and we get a chance to see thousands of different shops. And Doug's built one of the most beautiful tech stacks we've ever seen. So we asked him to come here for that. Please introduce yourself, Doug.
Okay, well, half the introduction is done, so thank you very much, Lauren. Senior Inside Sales Manager with WMR Waste Management, supporting our inside sales teams across the US and Canada. So when we talk about tools and technology, these are the add-ons to Salesforce that we use to enable our sales representatives to be much more successful with their customers and much more efficient. So my lens is going to be a little different from the other participants because our concentration has been on the enablement, the development for our representatives. So our AI is about analyzing our calls, providing information for better improved coaching, providing coaching scripts for the managers based on the performance for the representatives.
Mhm.
From an outbound standpoint, although we don't use it necessarily for prospecting, we also do have Gen AI email, which is one of our new favorite features because it looks at the previous correspondence and interactions with customers to help make sure we don't leave out essential information when we're corresponding back with those customers again. So
we'll deep dive into those. And Doug has some really specific recommendations, which I love. We are not above name dropping here. We're going to tell you tech we like and use. Woohoo! All right. So, David, you are really on that bleeding edge of using AI at an organizational level. Another Legacy Executive Club member. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so thanks, Lauren. David Krieger, president of Sales Roads. We're an SDR outsourcing company, and we've been using AI in a lot of different ways. But some of the things I'd love to dive in the prism I'd like to think through is really not even on the front end necessarily of what the SDR is doing, but the back end. We found tremendous efficiencies in using AI, especially tools like Clay.com. Many of you guys might know about that, and plugging in some of the AI models into that to help us target our leads, make sure we're prospecting into the right types of companies, building sales agents to do the research for our SDRs to try to figure out, first of all, whether they're a right fit company for our client, and then finding some insights that sometimes takes SDRs a bit to try to figure out. We try to use an agent and give them a co-pilot to help them find those insights to incorporate into their messaging. So I'd love to talk about some of that, as well as some of the AI voice technology of where that works and where it doesn't. And we've been leveraging that for some clients as well. And there's some real hard places you should not be using it and can't use it, and some places where we're seeing real promise.
I love this. So listen, if you're watching this and thinking, oh, snap, I thought this was just for sellers. Make sure when we send this to you, you're sending it to your enablement people, or chat them right now and tell them to come and join. Your rev ops need to hear these tips. Your sales leaders need to hear these tips. Your IT people need to hear these tips. And I told you they were smarter than me. Don't worry, I'll ask the dumb questions. Let me tell you what to expect. First and foremost, if you haven't been here before, we do a sales shot every month. In fact, soon we're going to start doing twice a month. They're short and they're tip rich. This one will go longer than most. It's usually 30 minutes. It's always free. And we toggle between sales management topics, enablement topics, and frontline rep training topics. My favorite one is coming up next month in June. It's about what kind of sales manager are you? Amy, if you've got it, drop the quiz. We've been training sales managers for 30 years, and understanding your superpowers and your gaps right up front helps you rise faster. So get to know us. Go to factor8.com/shots. Yes, it's true. We've got a bit of a drinking problem. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going right next into outbound prospecting. Then we'll go to inbound. We're going to talk about prompts and making those better. We're going to talk about messages and what gets auto-deleted or trashed. And then we're going to go back and talk about more of our favorite tools and tips. So we're going to kill the slide share, make sure that you can see everybody, and go right, please, into outbound. So I'm going to ask each of you, you get 2 minutes and 2 top use cases, and we'll follow up with questions. David, I still see you on my screen, so can I go to you first?
Please ask away.
All right. What's the top 2 ways? Does your team use it in outbound?
Yeah, so I think really one of the best ways, and I was touching on it in the intro, is to make sure that you're calling the right types of leads. Right now, before AI, it was really hard to figure out certain types of companies to pull lists for and try to figure out whether they're the right type of fit, right? So for instance, I don't know how many people sell into MSPs, right? So if you were to try to pull a list from ZoomInfo of MSPs, there's no MSP
You don't get it.
thing. So, and that runs across lots of different things. So either you're doing manual research to figure out whether that company's in your ICP, or you are calling
them anyway, and you're wasting time.
Yeah, so I really recommend to use AI. Either you can use tools like Clay to do that at scale, or you can build a GPT or build a prompt that helps you to do that research. So you can, ChatGPT, you can just even put it in a website, right? You can build what your ICP is, and I make sure that you put in a lot of detail as to what something is and what something isn't. Put in that website and ask it for it to come out as this is an ICP or it is not. And then you can build it.
Okay, so hang on. First of all, let's just double drop that Clay you like, because they will help you pull a better list. So there's your first tech shout out. Thank you for that. So what you're saying is you take a list that you're getting from Zoom or Seamless or wherever, then you put it into ChatGPT and say, which of these are my ICP after you train chat, right? With your ICP.
Yeah, and the key part is training it, right? And and we'll get into some of the key aspects of prompt, but you write very long prompts, right? If you repetitively, right? You got to go into depth as to, what is an MSP? What would
Right.
make it? What would you
Right.
look for on the
Right.
website? And give it those steps.
Got it. So you'll help us with those prompts in a minute, but the key is train it well, but ask it. I'm not using it that way. So that was a huge learning for me already. Thank you for that. Pause one moment. We're going to share our poll results. Where's the rest of us in outbounding, right? And the gosh, pretty even split. But most of us are for some things, right? The smallest percentage of us are using AI for outbound all the time. So it looks like you guys may have taken a tip away for that as well. David, what's your second tip for outbound?
Yeah, so the second part of outbound is really making sure that you have. I guess we're going to go into prompting in a second.
We will. We got a whole section on prompting. Yep.
Okay, use it
What's
as
the
a
use first?
self-coach, right? So all of you guys should have transcript tools, whether it's Fathom or Gong or whatnot, and is build your own coaching mechanism and build a GPT. If you haven't built GPTs yet, it's super simple. There's explanations on how to do it. Anything you do over 3 times, build a GPT for it. And one of the key things as sales folks is we need to coach ourselves, right? And so build a GPT to help you put a transcript of a discovery call or a cold call and give it, some prompts on how you can get better. What are some questions you could have asked? What are some things that you didn't do well, that maybe things that you missed? And have it give yourself a grade and some pointers. And that way you can get real-time feedback as you're prospecting, after you do your calls, and you've got a coach right next to you, helping you to also coach you the way you want to be coached. So if you want to be asked questions about the call, you can have the GPT ask you questions and lead you through. If you just want to be told what to do, it can tell you what to do.
So why do people call it a GPT? Because when you say build a GPT, to me, I define that as build yourself a custom bot. Is that what that is? Why is it called a GPT?
So in ChatGPT, they have a functionality to build your own custom GPT. So if you're creating long prompts all the time, right, you can do it that way. Or if you have specific tasks that you want to have done, whether it's writing your emails, coaching yourself, something that is more narrow, you can then spend a little bit of time with, as long as you have the professional plan, building a custom GPT for yourself. And then you can just chat with that agent, that GPT, and get specific answers that are tailored around the way that you have guided it to give you those answers.
So when you're training it, you're building a custom, really. Are those one and the same things?
Yeah, and there's a specific functionality in all the different tools, but let's just talk about ChatGPT, that allows you to create a custom GPT as long as you're on the professional plan.
Right,
and then you'll have that access to it, and you can continue to train it, continue to update it, but then you get really tailored answers. For instance, if you wanted to help you write emails, you could upload 50 of your emails to have it understand your voice. It will be very customized to the type of email, the tonality, things like that of that you've trained it to do because you give it specific examples.
Yeah, I really love that. And so 2 pieces of wisdom I just want to shout out before we move on to our next one. And Doug, I'm going to come to you next. But wisdom 1 was another outbound use case, coach yourself, right? After you train it. And then the other thing, you went kind of quickly on this, but if you're going to do something more than 3 to 5 times, build the custom bot to do it. And I keep promising myself I'm going to spend some time over the weekend to do that for my repetitive tasks, right? Because I'm like, I'm at 55. It's time, LB, build the bot. And I haven't yet. So thanks for that reminder. That's great. All right, Doug, how are you guys using AI for outbound? Top 2 use cases.
Sure. And again, I'll reset. My lens is just a little different from the others. The majority of our inside sales teams are supporting existing customers or working with existing customer relationships. So 2 biggies. One I mentioned a bit earlier, and they're both through our application Concur Voice for our vendor, who we handle for inbound, outbound phone calls along with email. So that's the Gen Email tool, which we newly implemented, and that has the ability when we kick off an email, either from a template or from a new correspondence to that customer, looks through the previous communications from calls and emails and pulls together a draft for us to provide additional information, so we don't leave out a follow-up like we promised previously that needs to be pulled back in again.
That's fantastic.
Newly
And let me just
adopted, but
clarify.
it speeds time.
Concur is who you're using, right? And you're
Correct.
using them for voice, and this is a tool within Concur, and you like it. You're giving it a thumbs up.
We love it. Very easy adoption because it pulls the emails into Salesforce, so we no longer have to go hunting for
Oh, great.
shared communication, right? It doesn't live in Outlook
Yeah.
somewhere else. It's all in one
Yeah.
place, so you see the conversation stream right into the application.
Well, and Doug, that's really critical for outbounders of any kind, right? And I like that you clarified, listen, I have account managers, but they still have to dial out, right? They have to get out in touch with their customers. And sometimes that's the hardest behavior to shift, but not as hard as getting reps to update the CRM. So that's a really important feature that you've just called out. Love it. What's the
Right.
second big use case?
The second is the call capture. So we have AI-enabled call analytics on the call. So not only do we record the call, it also creates a transcript and a summary on the call, which gets attached to the record so anyone can see what's my quick summary. So it saves time in typing because it's already captured what took place on the call. From a manager's perspective, it scores the call so they know what are the 4 different categories, including sales process and an overall score, so they know how their employees are performing. Gives us
Nice.
a sentiment line with the timeline where sentiment changes up or down. So you can actually go to the point where sentiment dropped dramatically. What happened? What was the conversation? What objections were covered? What were the questions and answers? And very important wrap up, what were the next steps discussed on the call? So we
Yeah, I
know
love
what actions we or the customer were supposed to take. We
Mhm.
feed all that information into Ambition, which is our employee engagement tool, which gives us a very easy summary and coaching process, which is also AI enabled.
Mhm.
And this is kind of repeat in the inbound side, obviously, because we leverage both of those tools. What does this do on an outbounder is it improves the quality of the conversations that we can have, and managers don't have to take the chance on a single call. They can now look across the breadth of all calls to better identify what are the opportunities for this particular
Yeah.
rep and what do we want to talk about.
I love that. All right, let me ask a couple follow-ups. So, is it still Concert that is doing the transcript for you, including the sentiment and the action items and the auto upload into CRM?
So that's all built into the Concur application, correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Using the AI tools, everyone's got a bot now, right? A note taker bot, but there's definitely a difference, not just in quality, but in how it's spitting out those notes. I will tell you that I switched through a lot of them to now using Fathom, and I love it. I click it to tell me, give me the sales perspective of my notes. And there it is, top pains, current situation, next steps. You're getting that out of Conquer, plus you're getting the sentiment line. And I think that's really, really cool, where you
Yeah.
can tell, right? Because when clients are engaged, high engagement, high sentiment has a much higher close rate, right? Now you're
Yeah.
going to feed that into your coaching tool. And we're going to come back to let you talk about that in a moment, but it's another great brand drop called.
Ambition.
Yeah, we love what they do. That's really cool. Thank you. All right, JB, talk about outbound for us. How are you using it?
Okay, so quick note on Ambition. They started with this like AI solution that provided a competitive environment into your sales team, and now they've grown into what they are now, doing all types of things. So I really
Yeah,
admire their adoption of AI and the
yeah,
changes that they made. I want to
yeah.
talk about two. Put a 1 in the chat if you are greenfields, meaning you can prospect anybody that you want. Put a 2 in
Mhm.
the chat if you have named accounts. If you have
Like that.
named accounts, right? So a lot of 1s, a couple of 2s.
Pretty even here.
Looks pretty even to me.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're gonna
cool.
have to give both tips, JB.
Totally fine. Okay, so the first tip that I'm going to give you is Agent AI. I'm rocking this shirt, right? So this is a
He
very
does not
interesting.
work there. Be clear. He just likes it that much.
That's right. I just like it, and they like it when I talk about them. So here's the kicker, right? You build an agent to do what you need it to do so that it takes time away. So I am guilty of using manual timers all the time in the past. I would set a 5-minute timer and I would find a reason to reach out to somebody. Now, with this tool, what you do is type in a URL, for example, dodge.com. I sell to salespeople in the B2B SaaS world. So Dodge gets a letter F grade. And the reason is right below of why it does not make a good sponsor for
So
the
you've
Sell
clearly
Better
trained this already, right?
B2B
But
sales.
how is
I'm
this better than a custom GPT?
Yeah, perfect question. This is better because you can customize it to give you the information that matters most to your outbound messaging. Now,
Mhm.
GPT will do the same thing if you get your prompt right, but this does not require a prompt. You
Got
train
it.
it ahead of time, you type the URL in, and it already knows whether or not this is a fit.
Yeah.
This is one
Yeah.
that's a
Cool.
bad fit. This is what it looks like when it's a good fit, and here's why it's an outbound tool. See this? Here's why it would be a good fit. We're always looking to start our emails off with something relevant and personalized.
Mhm.
Guys, this is it right here. So check out
Mhm.
agent.ai and learn that. It's no code. You
Really
can
good.
build it yourself. This is what the back end looks like. It's not complicated, y'all. It's
Yeah.
easy to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you. Second outbound tip.
My second outbound tip is a tool called Olive. I fell in love with this tool like 2 years ago, and here's why. Number one, you're about to get on a call with somebody. You've been dialing and smiling for days. You're scheduled 7 calls in the last 3 days. You have no idea, like, everything about these people is impossible to know in the moment. Right before the call, you get this great little email from Olive that tells you about the company, about the people that are going to be on the call, and it even gives you little icebreakers that you can ask. Now, like most AI solutions, some of it is you got to question it. Like this right here, ask Boyle about their experience with lead forensics. That's not very useful. But check this out. Ask Chloe about her transition from radio hosting to content marketing. Yo, I am a host of a show. That's
Yeah.
our connective tissue for my
Yeah.
icebreaker. Such
Yeah.
a great
Cool.
solution.
I like that. And these are both paid solutions, and you find it worth the subscription.
Actually, agent.ai is free right now. They're brand new to the market. So I highly
Jump in,
recommend
folks.
that you go dive in and learn something
Yeah.
awesome in 2025
Yeah.
about AI.
Boom. Boom. Internet high five, JB. Those were fantastic. Appreciate that. Okay, Jax, you got some fun ways to do this. So you're in training now, but you spent a lot of years doing direct sales, right? In a
Yep.
BPO,
Yep.
one of my old-time favorite places. So tell us about your
Yes.
top use cases.
I think the biggest one is rapport building, right? So when we're doing person to person, and outbound can be really, difficult. The two things for me is rapport building and message optimization. There's a third, confidence builder, we'll talk about at the very end. I'm not going to give the teaser away now, but how do we really do the research? To our point, you can use ChatGPT, you can put in, and we'll talk through prompts later, but it's like take my LinkedIn profile, take my prospect's LinkedIn profile, find some commonalities
Mhm.
between them so that we have something to discuss, right?
Are you just using ChatGPT for that? Paste,
Yeah,
paste,
it's my
find me three
favorite.
commonalities.
Yep.
That's easy.
Yep.
Anybody can do that.
Especially when you're using your GPTs inside of chat, right? You have it already trained for what you're looking for. Again,
Yeah.
to the gentleman's points here, it's really already learned what I'm looking for and what I want to talk about. I use this on, hey, what is the company? What do I need to know about it? What are some common pain points they might have that I can address with the solutions at this BPO, given these suite of
Mhm.
services we offer?
And you've already trained it on your ICP, right?
Yep.
Here's
Yep.
our value. Here's what we do. Here's all of our features and our benefits. Now,
Exactly.
find me pain points we could solve.
Totally. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people, are well, the security risk, right? Well, all of this information is public. If you have,
Yeah.
tech.com, it has all of the services that tech provides. You can put that URL in there, and then you can put your prospect's profile from LinkedIn, right? Download the profile and put it in there. And
Good.
then you can say, hey, match these together for me. So let it do the work. Don't spend
Yeah.
hours of research, right?
Yeah.
Looking into a prospect.
Yeah.
Let the AI do that for you.
I got to be honest, I'm not doing that right
Yeah,
now.
it's easy
So
too, right? 30 seconds.
that's a plus, right?
Yeah,
Everybody
it's
can
great.
grab that in sales and do that. And if you're on a team, do it together in a team huddle and get
Yep.
out there and try it. And everybody do it and get feedback and right, we can come up
Train it the
together
way
as a
you
group.
want.
I love it. All
Exactly.
right.
The second piece is confidence. We'll get to a little teaser that I'll give you at the very bottom of the seminar today. But the first thing is like, we don't know what you're going to get when you're reaching out. Outbound, you don't know
Yeah.
who you're going to
That's the
get.
fun
You
of
don't know how
outbound.
they're going to
Yeah.
respond, right? So use
Yeah.
GPT as a practice, as a practice bot, right? You'll chat it. You can even talk to it,
Yeah.
go through the motions of having that conversation and using those pain points. Tell it in your prompt, and we'll talk about this later. Tell it who the persona is and be
Mm,
tough on me, right? Give it,
mhm.
is it an analyzer? Is it a director, etc.? Give it those pain points and
Yeah.
then give it kind of like a scenario card, right? And then
Yeah.
practice back and forth.
So
That
you're
will
doing
build
this,
the
but
confidence
David's saying, give me coaching after, and you're saying, let's practice before.
before.
So I've got a tool I really like for that that's new on the market called Grow AI, GRW
love it.
AI, and they actually have different thought leader bots in there as well. And you
Yes.
can voice to voice
Yes.
practice. You can tell it if I want to be this way or that way. You can then say, right, give me specific feedback that align with different criteria, right,
Absolutely.
and different frameworks. And I love that. So
Yep.
another really good use case, not just for our sellers, but also for our managers and our trainers out there. So get in there and try that. Woohoo. Okay. Doug, I know you're using it for, no, David, you're using it for inbound. Is anybody else using AI on inbound right now? We're going to go straight to David. Tell us about your group at Sales Roads. This is cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, so there's two things that we're doing. Is one is with voice, and so I think that, you know, first of all, you can't legally go outbound with voice AI. It's a robo dial, so you have to use it for inbound, and also I think you have to, more importantly, use it for the right use case. AI is not going to replace us as, you know, creating relationships, you know, relationship sales, creating, you know,
Right.
a really warm and fuzzy first start to a call. But there is a use case for heavy inbound on qualifying leads where you can use an AI, and we've started to use it successfully for one of our clients that does a tremendous amount of gets a number of inbound calls. They need to qualify them based upon 3 different parameters. And what we've seen, and I know this is a little scary for everyone, is that on the inbound qualification rate, they're outperforming humans on a tier 1 qualification call. So,
Okay, this is a big deal. So, by the way, I just want to translate this for people. David, we talked about how he's with a BPO, and that means that people outsource it to him. So, if you've got a ton of inbound, if you need them qualified, if you're looking for people to do outbound on your behalf, if you don't want to figure out how to do it well, and employ technology, David's got your back at Sales Roads. So, one of your clients said, "We want to test AI on the inbound." Did you build this? Is there a tech you can shout out that you're loving
yeah,
that's working?
yeah, so we're working with a company called Sella. It's trysella.com. And so they have built a sales AI for this type of use case. And we've worked very closely with them and with the client. So there's really 2 important aspects, I think, for this AI use case and really for everything. One is you need to have the right tool and you know, and make sure you choose your partner correctly. But then you need to invest in it, right? Everybody promises, especially with AI, that use my tool and sales and leads are going to fall out of the sky. And we've
Of
heard
course,
that
right?
forever. And that's not the case. It takes a lot of work to massage it, make sure it's working right, and also make sure it's a use case that makes sense for
Yeah.
the AI. So for instance,
Well,
qualification calls, no
they were
relationship.
super clear. Yeah. Yeah, they were super clear. Is it voice? Is it a prompt? What is the user experience on this?
Oh, it's all voice. So
Yeah.
this is for small business loans, and then basically they will call in and you know, or submit a request for a small business loan, and then the AI will call them back, have anywhere from like a 60-second to 3-minute call with them, go over things, qualify them, ask them about their bank account, go back and forth, and then transfer them if they're qualified to a loan officer.
And they're outperforming the humans on this. That's fascinating. Thank you for that. That's huge. Anybody else have an inbound use case?
Well, I just wanted to add something to David's comment there. I think the reason that they're outperforming is that the human mind overcomplicates an inbound lead. We default to outbound behavior. And that is not what needs to happen with an inbound lead. With your AI solution, they go through the process that you've given it without fail. And I feel like that is a big reason why that's happening.
Yeah, people are asking in the chat. Yes, we're going to send all the links and we're going to send the recording. I know this is hot
It's
stuff, right?
2025, y'all. You're going to get a recording.
Boom, right? Try and stop us. So I want to talk about enablement next. And Doug, I know you're using this in enablement. And then we'll go to anybody else who is. What's your top use case in enablement?
So enablement, I think I would pop back over to ambition and the pre-read. They call it a pre-read. So basically, it's an AI-enabled. How is the person performing? So when we get ready to approach a coaching or check-in, it looks through the previous X period of time. We default to 90 days. What conversations have you had? What have been covered? What's the rep saying in their feedback back to you? Are they accepting it? Are they motivated? So it looks at all those types of attributes along with the KPIs that we have in their scorecard. We can also link it to their pipeline review, which is also AI enabled. So it can review their pipeline based on whatever parameters we set up for us and give you, without having to analyze it, what have been the changes? What's the movement? Are we moving properly between one stage to the next? What are the challenges, et cetera? So that's again, using all the information we talked about earlier from the AI insights from the call scores, that's all enabled it, along with everything that we can see from Salesforce and all of their performance characteristics.
So Doug, I know I've been a huge Ambition fan like you for a long time. In fact, it's how Factor 8 and Waste Management became such good friends, was that, and I was speaking at an Ambition conference. And like you said, JB, their true north has always been enabling better coaching conversations, right? And at Factor 8, we're always teaching, like, how do you make your rep meetings better? And what do you need to do to prepare for a one-on-one? And they just take all that work away. So we're getting pipeline information, right? We're getting CRM information. We're getting past meeting information. Are we also analyzing like CI stuff, conversational intelligence? Am I looking at call quality too?
Yes, because that's
Oh,
the AI Insights call score portion of it, because those
yeah.
scores are attached to the record and they become part of what we can look at. So we
Boom.
look at the trend in what's being moved. And as you mentioned, with all that data, we can select specific metrics that we want to measure as part of the outcome, so we know how effective the coaching is. So if we're trying to drive up their talk time or their conversion time, include
Yeah.
those metrics within your
Yeah.
coaching parameters, and you can now see
Yeah.
what's the movement from day to day to day as we're continuing to move through the conversations with representatives.
What if the metric I'm trying to impact is a skill, right? For our enablement people out there, I'm looking for them to do a better job of discovery questions. Can that also be tracked? Can I see a trend on that?
It just depends on what your outcomes are that you're measuring.
Yeah.
So, from a discovery standpoint, are we moving more opportunities into conversion? Are we converting more leads, or are we
Yeah.
creating more leads? So maybe
Yeah.
we're looking at a phone call. You've had 10 inbound phone calls. What's your conversion to a lead? So now
Okay.
we know whether,
So it's going to
as
be
an example,
results
discovery is
based.
more effective. Mhm.
Yeah, it's always the results based, that which is great, right? We're looking at sometimes that call quality part and the skills is very subjective. And I've yet to find a tool that's really doing a great job of getting that into a dashboard.
Yeah.
I think Ambition can do it, but you're using it at the results level, and then you're going to dive into the rest of it in that
Yeah.
manager one-on-one. It's
And
cool.
to your point, it makes us have the ability to be much more consistent.
Yeah.
And new managers now have the same information that a very experienced manager has, because they don't need to know what should I be looking through in order to have an effective conversation, because we're handing it to them. So they're all on an even keel. So
Makes a
as we're
difference.
going through our training with your team right now in soft skills and getting our supervisors, managers, and reps more up to speed, again, we have a consistent way to be able to measure it and to monitor what's happening.
Yeah, which is super cool. One of the things we do before we start any engagement is go in and do an assessment. And my team came back from waste management in like record time. Done. And I'm like, what do you mean done? Like we usually listen to thousands of calls and are digging out pipelines. And they're like, no, like we spent an hour with Doug. He's got it all. Like all the info is right there in your tech stack with these AI tools, and it's beautiful. Are you seeing lift? Have you seen a performance difference?
Oh, absolutely. And again, we've been in these applications for 6 years, so I can't say that there's another lift in the month, but several of these are brand new in this current year. And we're certainly seeing from an adoption rate that they're being readily enabled, and that our
That's
managers
great.
are grasping the tools and putting in place and saving a lot of time.
Yeah, I love it. That's really good. Anybody else have a hot inbound or enablement tip? If not, I'm going to move on in our agenda.
So the one enablement tip that I will give is that anything that delivers intent or signals or triggers in real time to salespeople is underutilized and underrated right now.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that. Which
Mhm.
ones do you like?
So twofold. One, I really like LinkedIn Sales Navigator for alerts and being able to hit that bell on LinkedIn, whether it's regular LinkedIn or Navigator, and
I'm not using that.
in real time, you'll be able to see on that persona, that account that you're following, whatever. You can do it on both the human side and on the account side. You can see real-time alerts when something changes. You can set up the type of alerts that you want, how you want to receive them.
I'm using
This
that. Yeah.
pulls you away from managing that pipeline, trying to get responses, and
Right.
gives you that opportunity to have a real-time conversation with
Yeah.
somebody with a contextual reason for that conversation. So
Right.
alerts and triggers and signals have
Yeah.
to be being used. Can I answer
Okay.
Chad's questions?
Yeah, we're going to do it at the end. Thank you.
Okay.
But I will tell you that with the change in the LinkedIn algorithm, which I know is constantly happening, but I have to, like, I've gone and rung the bell now on my friends, my colleagues, my coworkers, my legacy executives, because it's not showing me their stuff otherwise.
Ah.
So ring the bells of the people you want to keep up with and your prospects. So thanks for
Yeah,
adding that,
the
JB,
feed
and
is
thank
not
you.
going to do it for you. That's
Yeah.
100% true.
Yeah, it's just true. Okay, so quick question about risk, okay? If a company is listening to this and they're not bringing AI in right now, they don't have a closed system and they're starting to freak out like, "Oh crap," right? Like everybody in my org's going to go start putting all of our IP into ChatGPT. That's kind of risky. So the tool is up, the poll is up right now. Does your company have a closed system? Are you using ChatGPT? And my big question to the team is, how do you mitigate the risk? So I'm going to start with David and then Doug, because I know you're looking at this at org levels. What have you done?
Yeah, so I'm not an attorney, and so obviously those are some of the things you have to break through. But I would really make the point to management, to law, to legal, if they're trying to block your use of AI, that the bigger risk, and I know it's cliche, is not using these tools. I mean, not only are you not getting the benefit now, but this has to be something that is in every company's DNA. This is the way work is going to get done. This is the way sales is going to get done. And if you handicap, first of all, by not allowing your team to use these AI tools, because you're worried about some risk you can't pinpoint, and I'd really make sure that they pinpoint what it is, because there's lots of tools like even ChatGPT Professional. It's a closed system. Now, that might not be good enough for some systems, right? For some companies. I get it. I know.
Exactly.
I get the pushback, but they have to know that it's not only a productivity risk now, it's a cultural risk. And also, the best people who want to use these tools are going to leave and find another company that allows them, because they are amazing tools that allow you to 10x, if not more, your productivity. And so I would really challenge companies and the legal teams that are putting the kibosh on it, because it is a huge risk to really subside this within an organization.
I'm going to prove your point. Look at this. If your company's not providing the system, 63% of the folks here are doing it on their own. So if you've got your head in the sand, right, your people are accessing it on your systems now. So I've heard this though. So I've got some good friends over at Cran, and Cran helps companies build internal systems, right? They're going to customize it, they're going to keep it closed. And I was talking with some of their developers who said, they'll tell you it's a closed system, but don't trust it. And so you were doing that as well. Like maybe do we trust ChatGPT? Is it a closed system? It's a risk, right? And if we're really concerned
want to
about
chime
that,
in and
then you
say,
build it.
I agree with you, LB, but I have to chime in and say there is a percentage of stuff that must be checked. You cannot take a bullet, like if ChatGPT provides you with a bullet of 5 bullets that are relevant to your buyer, for example,
Yeah.
don't choose the one that was made up by ChatGPT and burn your bridge, ruin your
Right.
credibility.
Right.
Double check everything you're seeing,
Because
because
it will
it's
do
not a
that.
perfect system at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah. But I think that the other risk that people are talking about, though, is company information being put in there, confidential information being shared. And when they say a closed system, the closed system means it's not going out to the greater world and audience, but there's some suspect as to whether or not it's really closed. So
I don't know. I think that they are, in fact, I've heard it said that you have to recognize that everything you search ChatGPT for, they are profiling you with. And that's 100% true. And if you don't believe me, feel free to go into ChatGPT right now and say, summarize me as a person based on my previous searches, and watch what happens.
okay, here's your litmus test. Jax.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the same thing. I mean, you can have it analyze, right? If you're using it every single day, it can build you your own persona card. It can tell
Mhm.
you the things you need to work on, right? The things that it's captured as far
Mhm.
as your weaknesses or your SWOT per se. So I agree with you, JB. It definitely knows a lot about you. It has that memory. It does hang on to it. But I mean, would you go to Google and put your social security in it? No. Are you going to go to ChatGPT and put your social security in it? No, right? So I think there is some critical thinking of like, what are you inputting in there? And can you make it generic comfort information, right?
Mhm.
Just maybe not put all of the details and you'll still be able to plug and play, if you will, and still be efficient, I believe.
And so our free chat GPT is definitely learning about you and sharing all your information. Our paid version probably as well. When we talk about a closed system, this is somebody paying to create a closed system with a company like Cran. And if you've got others that are definitely closed and confidential, then drop those in chat. Anybody else have another comment about risk here?
If you're online at all and you believe your data is secure in any way, you're living in a dream world. So, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. If you
Right.
Thanks,
have a
baby.
profile on social media of any kind, or even if you don't and you just have a Gmail address,
Yeah.
somebody out there is buying and
Yeah.
selling your email
Yeah.
address. I'm sorry.
It's so true. I know, but you're not making my founders feel better. Let's talk to a big company. Doug, I know that you have a governance committee at Waste Management, right? You're a huge company. What have you decided to save?
Yeah. So great point. So there's like 50,000 people spread across the company, and I guess even more so after our recent acquisition. So we do have an AI governance committee that looks at a new AI enabled application, such as what we've already been describing with Conquer and Ambition, to ensure that they are closed and what's the information that's being shared, where does it go, and how does it get exposed. So they have certified use of Copilot, MRMS Office products, because that's what we use for our primary communication, that are very resistant to any of the models that, as the script's already been discussing, might be sharing our information, because we're talking about sales strategies and how we approach customers. We are unique amongst most of the sellers because any small and medium-sized business, at least for my inside sales teams, could be our customer.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
unless it's in a franchise area that we can't sell into, we don't need to qualify people to find out, do you need our business? Everyone needs trash, recycling, sustainability, environmental services, et cetera. So it's a much different perspective. So
Mhm.
how we differentiate ourselves and the product quality, services, et cetera, that we provide is a very distinct competitive advantage. So we're very protective of that type of information
Of
that
course.
could get
Yeah,
exposed.
of course. But they have said Microsoft Copilot officially closed, good to go. And
Yes.
and I've heard that. I've got friends at Microsoft who have said that's their whole thing, LB. Like everything,
Yep.
like the whole value prop is it's closed and it's not being sold. So there you go. Thank you for that.
I had
Appreciate
to
that,
point
Doug.
out the difference in Microsoft Copilot and Zoom Info Copilot. There's also GitHub Copilot, there's Banker Copilot, there's Legend Copilot. I mean, there are
Apparently, we're not trademarking names. Anybody can have a
so
co-pilot.
many
Yeah.
Copilots.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like my assistant. What's another word for that? Somebody
I view
chat
it, I say it
GPT'd.
differently. I say we're never really alone.
Yeah, which is true, right? I know that my Alexa is always listening to me and sending
She's
ads
gonna
to me,
respond. You
things
said her
that I
name.
need to reorder. All right, so I want to get into the next one. We've talked about risk. I want to talk about trash words. So, it's funny that we all want to embrace AI, but we all hate having AI used on us.
Mm.
Right. And so I had somebody actually return an email, reply to an email from me in Factor 8 and said, nice AI generated email. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad you think I'm that, eloquent because it wasn't. I actually wrote that shit. And and isn't it interesting that that was offensive to you? Right. And so here's the question in the poll. If you think an email is written by AI, do you delete it? Is it an auto trash?
Mm.
And then we're going to talk about how can you tell
I
if
hope
it
people
is,
select. I hope people select not as long as it's good, because that's the
right?
one, man. Like You know, we're
I'm
all
looking
out
at the
here.
results coming in, and it's still going off here. It's still going off.
No,
But
I liken this. I liken this to the same hypocrisy that exists in cold calling. I know
right,
countless. I know countless business development managers that have teams of 50 and 100 cold callers. And when somebody cold calls them, they're the first ones to be like, "How'd you get this number? Take me off your
right,
list."
right.
And then
I'm
they
so
open
nice to
that door to
salespeople.
their
Yeah,
team, and they're like, "Guys, we got to make more cold calls, bro.
right.
Fuck you!" Like,
Yeah, right. Like, come on.
Maybe.
All right. Well, then you're going to be really happy about this. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. Not as long as it good. It wins at. So, what are some of the signs? So you know it's been AI generated. JB,
well,
you're up, and then Jax, how about you?
okay, so you're talking about which words now? This is the trash
Trash
words.
word.
Is that?
Hmm.
What are the signs that AI?
Yeah. Okay. If I'm reading an email and there is an abundance of jargon in that email, and I look at that person's profile on LinkedIn, by the way, 70% of your buyers look to your LinkedIn profile before they decide whether or not they're going to give you time. That's a good data point to
That's
know,
a really good data point.
right? So if I send an email written by AI and it uses a ton of their internal jargon, and then that person gets that email, and whether it's good or not is completely irrelevant, they then
Yeah.
go to my LinkedIn, and I've been at this company for a month and a half.
Mm.
That is an entirely too technical of an email for this rep to have written on their own. They're
Okay, well,
still
that's a
on
good way.
they're still on the ramp.
Yeah.
There's no way they
Yeah.
wrote that email. So
Yeah. Okay.
we have to know this.
I never
Yeah.
would have thought to do that. I never would have thought to do that. Like you're too smart for where you are in your career. AI did it. Jax, what's your number one tell?
I mean, I think some of the verbiage, right? To your point, the jargon, but cutting edge, synergy, solutions
Oof.
provider, right? Like some of these trigger words that are supposed to hype you up, or emojis. There's a ton of emojis. I love emojis, right? But it doesn't need to be in every single part of your email. Um,
Interesting.
think of it like spam mail, right? When the snail
Yeah.
mail, when you got it, you just knew what to look for. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about what not to say, right? And what to link to, but don't use the hype words. They're not helping you out any.
Well, they're not helping anyway. And so it's interesting that AI puts it in there. I noticed that when I glaze over, it's been written by AI. I was looking at a draft of a website for one of my companies yesterday, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like I couldn't lock in on any single word. And it was my own stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea what we do
You
based on
couldn't
this because it was
pinpoint the
just all
value.
garbage.
Yeah, there's no
Yes.
value in it, right? There's no
Yeah.
gems, no nuggets. So it's like, where are you putting that in? You really have to have it to catch the eye.
Bingo. Bingo. David, Doug, anything to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, to be honest, you know, the fact that you shouldn't know it's written by AI if it's good, right?
Hmm.
And there are ways, and we've gotten all the bad AI emails, but we've sent some emails out using AI where the person wrote back and said, I will respond to any email that takes the time to research me the way you did. And that was all done by AI, right? And so the
That's
thing
done
is,
well.
I think people use AI, and this is just an Uber
Yeah.
tip or whatever you want to call it, to speed up and save time. It can, but and it can save you lots of time, but where the magic happens is when you use that extra time you have to do the task better. So if an email before took you 30 minutes to write or 15 minutes to write, don't write it
Right.
in 3 minutes. Take
Right.
the 15 minutes and write the best email you
Yeah.
ever wrote
Yeah.
with AI.
Yeah.
And
Could we all
then
just
no
pause
one
one
will
moment and
know,
clap for
no one
David?
will care, and they'll respond back.
That was fucking brilliant. That was so well said. You're getting amens and hallelujahs right now in the chat. Take the time it saves you and go do the task better. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. And you're right, because it's AI gives me more of the garbage messages of, hey, since you're a top sales coach, I'm not a sales coach. I just won that award. Since you work at Outreach, I don't work at Outreach. I just spoke there. Like it grabs one thing off your profile, assumes it knows what it does, and then pitches you something you don't need. I get about 20 of those a day. It
That's
drives
why
me
I said what I
crazy.
said about how
Yeah.
you have to check those things first. Anybody sending you something that says since you work at Outreach didn't
Yeah.
bother to go to your LinkedIn profile and
Yeah.
see that you don't work there.
Yeah. I get once a week, I get a stranger asking me for an intro for a job there. I'm like, dude, right? Like the nerve of some people, it's killing me. Okay. We don't have a lot of time left. And I know that there's questions we want to answer, but I'm going to go one last round of top tools. The tools we've shouted out that we love so far, ChatGPT in the paid version, Clay, Conquer, Agent AI, Olive, Grow AI, and Tricella. Anybody have an additional tool that they're using they want to shout out?
I do. I have one. It's called Sybil, Sybil.ai, Sybill.ai. And what's cool about this is that when you're in a sales call and you're focused on the message because Sybil is recording, it's also picking up physical and emotional responses from your buyer. So when you drop that price and your buyer widens their eyes and sits back and puts their hands up, you might not notice that on the call because you're
Mhm.
deep in and you're paying very close attention to delivering
And
the
you're a rep,
result.
so you have happy ears and eyes. Right.
That's right. But after the
Yeah.
fact, Sybil will send you an email and give you that physical response and say something like, when you dropped that price, your buyers sat back and their eyes got big. This enables
So
you
it's like
to be
sentiment. It's the body language reading
it's an
again.
extremely empathetic follow-up if you think about it, because the opening statement in that follow-up is, hey, David, when I said the price, I noticed that you took a step back and your
Yeah.
eyes got wide. Were you expecting something else?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Otherwise,
an
you lose them.
incredibly intuitive follow-up
Good.
and not the norm that these people are getting.
Like that. All right. Anybody else on my panel want to shout one out? Doug, how about you guys over there? I know you've got a big old stack. Any favorites we have to talk about?
I know we mentioned it before, but I didn't hear it in your recent list, and that was definitely ambition from the employee engagement side.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
You're right. I didn't say them.
yeah, and I wouldn't minimize the Conquer Voice things we haven't even talked about, because there are things that are on their private roadmap, since we're on their client council, that are being developed that are going to AI enable things like workflow process and cadence. How do we
Yeah.
intelligently know what the next best step is for a customer when we're in that communication? So back to James, your example, how do we real time tell them what they should be doing, whether it's even on a conversation? We have something not yet AI enabled, but it's automated. It's called battle cards. So we listen to the customer side of the conversation. When they say a term or phrase that we want to put in front of the rep to say, here's your script, or here's what you need to mention, it pops up for them, available for them today. That's an automation process, something we have to go through AI insights to determine what do we want to present. It's not yet AI enabled, but those kinds of things will be enabled in the future to be able to guide conversations real time while you're speaking with your
Love
customers.
that. So it continues to get better. You know, for years, I hated this trend where we were over tooling all the reps. And now the trend are the tools coming back and combining, and we're figuring out how to do less tools, and the tools that are taking up several different folders, if you will, or several different categories, and using AI to bring them together and put it into one system of record will win, which only frees up budget to actually train people to do it better, by the way, just saying.
And
Just
it has to value add to the representative. It can't be
yes,
another step or force them to go through
yes,
steps in order to make sure
yes, you're
it's the
killing
end
me.
result, or they won't adopt it.
Yeah, Doug, I mean, preach. We're gonna do a little golf clap for Doug as well, which is of course appropriate with the Waste Management Open. Love that. Okay, last tools or tips, a way you're using AI we haven't talked about yet. Jax, you were hinting at one earlier. Let's go to you first.
So build that confidence, right? So let it be your wing woman, your hype man, whatever. Pump me up. I tell ChatGPT before a dinner or a call or event, pump me up. Be my hype woman.
You're
Give me a
kidding.
pep talk. Nope, nope.
Nuh-uh.
Maybe I don't, my mentor's maybe not available for a phone call. LB, you're not
Yeah,
available, right? Go to
right? So
ChatGPT or roast me. Roast me. Give me a good roast. Tell me what I need to do better, right? Be real explicit and tell me what I
I
need to
love
do
it.
better. So
Jessica
either
does the
way.
same thing. I'm going to go for a little hype. That's good. We talk about how all the time really good manager coaching leaves the rep feeling like a superhero.
Yep.
And unfortunately, most managers aren't doing that because there's too many things that reps need to work on.
Yep.
You know, they're walking out like Eeyore with a laundry list of 27 things they're supposed to do. And so reps, if that's happening to you, go GPT and get a pep talk. That's hilarious. And I wasn't ready for that. I love it.
I,
Who
Yep.
else?
I,
David,
I
you're
want
off mute. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go David
to
and then JB and then
go
Doug.
ahead,
One
David.
last tip.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, one we're testing it right now, but it has been really super powerful, is a company called Trellis. They're a YC company, and they have a number of different pieces of functionality. One that could be ubiquitous for everybody is they do have an AI coaching agent where for every one of our clients, we can build different personas, build in different objections. And then the other cool thing is it's a power dialer, parallel dialer, and the rep can stop on a call and ask for a coach from the AI, and it gives a few pointers on the call. So it's got a number of different pieces of functionality. They're a great group of guys who are building something. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty special.
So again, multiple lanes. I've got the dialer like Concert does, but I've also got the coach here. Then that's cool. I like that. Good one. Thank you, JB.
Okay, so
Final.
the last one that I want to talk about is one that, you know, might be a little controversial, but it's not necessarily ChatGPT related, but you can use ChatGPT for it. One-on-one coaching sucks for both parties. It sucks. The rep comes into the room and it's basically an accountability conversation. There's no context given, and they're expected to know every detail about every deal in their pipeline. This is not realistic. The manager has to come in and not only hold that rep accountable, but also coach to the human being, right? We have to coach to the job and the human. You can
Right.
use ChatGPT and other AI solutions that are one-to-one meeting focused to help you develop the best programs to coach to the accountability side and hold those reps accountable for the KPIs that you expect them to hit, but also invest in their future in these one-on-ones. And
So that's what Ambition is doing, right? We're talking about Ambition making the
it's
one-on-one
one of
meetings.
many
You're
things
saying
that Ambition
ChatGPT
is
can do
good
some of
for.
that too.
I think ChatGPT is a good foundation. It's going to lead you to a solution, most likely.
I
Ambition is
think the
one of those
difference, I'm
solutions.
going to debate you a little bit, JB. I
Love
think
it.
Oh,
I think
Yeah, get him,
Ambition
girl.
has data and analytics, right, that really point it back to versus ChatGPT, especially if you're using the enterprise model, won't have that memory, right? So it won't be able to kind of pull off of that. So to Doug's point, it's going to give you the stack ranking. It's going to give you actually what to talk about based upon the heat map and the KPIs, and you're able to talk about the performance exactly at that day, right? So it's like live information too. So I'm going to debate you just
Boom.
a little bit, just a little bit, coming through.
There
this
you
sounds
go.
like
But
another episode soon
Right?
to come.
Me
tune
too. Me
in.
too. Me, you, and Doug.
We're doing more AI in July. Yeah, that happened.
Let's
Sorry.
go.
Factor8.com/shots. If you've enjoyed this, come, we're going to have more great debates. Doug, David, one last tip, one last tool, final word.
Got a last one. So how many of you completed an incentive program for or a contest, competition, et cetera, to try to work on the latest, what is it we want to try to accomplish? You get done with it and you wonder, what did we accomplish? Did we get to our end meet? So brand new to launch tomorrow, another plug in Ambition. They already have competitions built into it. Now it's going to be AI enabled to give you the results at the end or during the competition to call out your leaders, who's making change, what are the unexpected results, what else is being
Love that.
impacted, et cetera, to help you with what did we actually get out of it and how do we improve it as we move forward. So,
Which is cool. It's where Ambition started, was with the gamification. So they do gamification, contests, leaderboards, talk about all these different areas, right? Also dashboards, also the coaching, also the performance management. So those are a lot of good check boxes. Thank you, Doug, for your final word and all of the wisdom that you shared here today. David, looks like you get to wrap us up.
Well, I'm going to actually end on a little bit of a different note, because actually, Lauren, you had asked at the beginning, before everybody was jumping on, what was our last chat in ChatGPT? And I looked at it for this. And I have a personal one and a professional one. And my personal one, I let my kids use it. And what warmed my heart was my last one was my kid has a Spanish test today. And I saw a chat that said, ChatGPT, here is my study guide. Help me create 10 questions to see whether I am prepared for my test today. And so, and here's the thing I struggle in for folks who have families, I think, with AI, and I know it's a weird note to end on, but our kid, this is going to be it's weird for us. It's going to be crazy weird for our kids, and helping our kids navigate it so it's not a cheating tool, which is what's happening, and how to use it to really, again, 10x their knowledge, be able to learn in ways that we never could learn, helping to guide them on that, because it's very easy to go in the bad direction versus the good direction. And that's one of the things I'm really focused on as a dad these days.
I want to just highlight
that
for just a moment. I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a professor that gave a commencement speech in Gen Alpha language. And for those of you that don't know about this, by all means, go look this up. It's amazing. There's subtitles in standard English underneath it, but he's like, it's low-key a dub to be vibing with all of you here today. And he gives the whole speech in this Gen Alpha language, and you can feel them all like impressed.
It's not Elvish, but it's something, right, JB?
Don't get me started on Elvish.
I think this is fantastic. I'm going to end a minute early because, like you, I have to go to the bathroom before my next meeting. This has been so fun. Chad Rawlings, I'm sorry we didn't get your questions answered, but email them over
Yeah.
and we will. Yes, you're getting the recording. Yes, you're getting the links. James has a really cool resource thing. Jax wants you to connect on LinkedIn. So does Doug. David is always giving AI tips for sales. So go connect with him on LinkedIn to get that as well. If you're in enablement and you've never tried out using a little bit of ChatGPT, we have a 6-pack at Factor 8 where you can dip your toe in the water. These are our most famous prospecting skills, and we've incorporated a little bit of AI in each one of them in a nice, safe, no risk way. Thank you for being here. It's been super cool to see all the names that I love over in chat too. Shake and Bake, thank you for that recommendation that you gave. Everybody have an awesome, awesome day. We'll see you in July.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
Thank
y'all.
you.
Well done.
Appreciate it.